All right, we're live. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning. Johnny, shut that door.
Nah. All right, we have Darlene B. She's out doing yard work. Louise is going to have to catch the replay. We have Delusion Dispeller online. She was the one we rated last night.
Bless her heart, and then I wouldn't leave.
Melissa is spending time with her nieces. And of course, we have Tracy. We have Denise, April, and Anna.
Tracy's having to lay down.
Yeah, that's what she said. We will, Denise, and we do.
Denise, that is something that stays close to mind and close to heart is you and your husband.
All right, it is 11:05. We are going to go ahead and get started. And we're going to open with prayer. And this morning's prayer is glorifying the Lord. The key scripture says, I will praise thee, O Lord my God, with all my heart, and I will glorify your name forevermore. That's Psalms 86, verse 12. The key thought is that glorifying God makes his presence more real. Oh God, I love to glorify you and to praise your holy name. I will bless you at all times, and your praise shall continually be in my mouth, for you are the King of all the earth. Yours, O Lord, is the greatness and the power and the glory and the victory and the majesty. For all that is in heaven and in the earth is yours. Yours is the kingdom, O Lord, and you are exalted as the head over all. Now, therefore, my God, I thank you and I praise your glorious name, for you are good and your mercy endures forever. Because your loving kindness is better than life to me, my lips shall praise you, and I will bless and glorify you while I live. I will lift up my hands in your name. As you satisfy my soul, as with marrow and fatness, my mouth will praise you with joyful lips. Holy, holy, holy are you, Lord God Almighty, which was and is to come. You are worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and power, for you have created all things, and for your pleasure they are and were created. You know, I am guilty of knowing that God exists, and, you know, I pray to God, but I don't always give thanks to God, and I don't always acknowledge God. You know, I look around and see things that happen, and I think, you know, to myself that it's something that I've done, you know, that I allowed this to happen or I was able to make this happen, but that's not the case. You know, it's only by God's grace that we are here, and everything that we have and everything that we are is due him. We are continuing in Genesis this morning. We are in Genesis chapter 9. And this is God's covenant with Noah. And as we know from what we read yesterday, Cain killed Abel and shed blood, and God cursed the land. And then God saw all of the wickedness from human nature, and God flooded the earth, told Noah to take the animals on the ark, both clean and unclean, for food and sacrifice, and as well as for repopulation. Noah was able to take his wife and his son's wives, and the waters receded. So now we are in God's covenant with Noah, to where he promises to not flood the earth again and destroy creation again. Good morning, Lynn.
Morning, Lynn.
So chapter 9 says, Then God blessed Noah and his sons, saying to them, Be fruitful and increase in number and fill the earth. The fear and dread of you will fall on all the beasts of the earth and on all the birds in the sky, on every creature that moves along the ground, and on all the fish in the sea. They are given into your hands. Everything that lives and moves about will be food for you. Just as I gave you the green plants, I now give you everything. So for all you vegans, God gave us meat. But you must not eat meat that is, or that has its lifeblood still in it. And for your lifeblood, I will surely demand an accounting. I will demand an accounting from every animal, and from each human being too. I will demand an accounting for the life of another human being. Now,
What's that mean? The lifeblood still in it? Maybe that's because
it's the blood is the God-given sign of life. God forbids his people to eat blood as a way of recognizing that life belongs to him. And that's also a law in Leviticus. This remains a regulation through the Old Testament and even into the New Testament, into Acts. So, even when we go into, after he built the tabernacle, he had all these laws about how it should be built, and then about how they should sacrifice animals and stuff like that. They were supposed to cook the meat thoroughly. There couldn't be any more blood in the meat. It had to be completely dead. I don't know if I would have been able to stick with that, because I like my steaks a little on the rare side. So verse 6 says, Whoever sheds human blood, by humans shall their blood be shed, for in the image of God has God made mankind. As for you, be fruitful and increase in number. Now, he tells them this because he just wiped out the entire population of the earth. Multiply on the earth and increase upon it. Then God said to Noah and to his sons with him, I now establish my covenant with you and with your descendants after you, and with every living creature that was with you, the birds, the livestock, and all the wild animals, all those that came out of the ark with you, and every living creature on earth. I establish my covenant with you. Never again will all life be destroyed by the waters of a flood. Never again will there be a flood to destroy the earth. Which is why a lot of people think that the world is going to end with fire. God said, This is a sign of the covenant I am making between me and you and every living creature with you, a covenant for all generations to come. I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and as we know, the rainbow has 7 colors. That is, 7 is a symbol of perfect or perfection, completeness. I have set my rainbows in the cloud, and the rainbow appears in the clouds. I will remember my covenant between me and you and all living creatures of every kind. Never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all life. Whenever the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and all living creatures of every kind on the earth. So God said to Noah, This is the sign of the covenant I have established between me and all life on earth. Now we're into the sons of Noah. The sons of Noah who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. These were the 3 sons of Noah, and from them came the people who were scattered over the whole earth. Noah, a man of soil, proceeded to plant a vineyard. When he drank some of its wine, he became drunk and lay uncovered inside his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father naked and told his two brothers outside. But Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it across their shoulders. Then they walked in backwards and covered their father's naked body. Their faces were turned the other way so that they would not see their father naked. When Noah awoke from his wine and found out what his youngest son had done to him, he said, "Cursed be Canaan, the lowest of slaves will he be to his brothers." He also said, "Praise be to the Lord, the God of Shem. May Canaan be the slave of Shem."
Good morning, Anamora.
Wow. All right. So, I've always thought, that it was just that he saw him naked. This goes into explicit detail. When he saw his father naked, the curse suggests that Ham does more than see his father naked. Uncover the nakedness refers to dishonoring a close relative by having incestuous relations, which God condemns. This text and the events in this passage are extremely difficult to interpret.
Maybe if he would have not said anything, just left his dad alone since he was in the tent and just not said anything, maybe it's the fact
that he brought, it was like he shamed his father for seeing him in that state.
Yeah, and
he brought attention to it.
Yeah. Pretty much like, hey, go see, if dad's over there naked in the tent, go see him.
So Noah continues with the curse. May God extend Japheth's territory. May Japheth live in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be the slaves of Japheth. After the flood, Noah lived 350 years. He lived a total of 950 years, and then he died.
What was that table on the back side?
It's, major covenants in the Old Testament. You got the Noahic, which is the covenant with Noah. Then you have the Abrahamic, which is the covenant with Abraham. Then you have the Sinaitic, which was the covenant of Mount Sinai. Then you have the Phineas, which was the covenant made with the zealous priest Phineas. The Davidic covenant, where God told King David that one of his descendants would rule forever.
Don't they still call like some sects of the Jewish population the Davidic?
I think it's Hasidic. I don't know about Davidic.
Okay.
I'm sure if they're the hardcore Jews, I would assume that they would have like Hasidic, maybe Davidic, Levitic.
Well, maybe down here it describes it. Major types of royal covenants, treaties in the ancient. The royal, which is unconditional, parity, and I can't say it, which is conditional. But
the suzerain vassal.
But the unconditional.
A royal grant, unconditional, is a king's grant or land of some other benefit to a loyal servant for faithful or exceptional service. The grant was normally perpetual and unconditional, but the servant's heirs benefited from it only as they continued in their father's loyalty and service. And then you have a parity, Parity, not parody like a mocking, is a covenant between equals, binding them to mutual friendship. And then the suzerain vassal is a conditional covenant, regulating the relationship between a great king and one of his subject kings. So we are in chapter 10. This is the Table of Nations. Now this is the account of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, Noah's sons, who themselves had sons after the flood. The sons of Japheth were Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tyrus. The sons of Gomer were Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. The sons of Javan were Elisha, Tarshish, the Kittites, and the Rodanites. From these, the maritime people spread out into their territories by their clans within their nations, each with its own language. Now, the Hamites, these are the sons of Ham: Cush, Egypt, Put, and Canaan. The sons of Cush were Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Rama, and Sabteka. The sons of Rama were Sheba and Dedan. Cush was the father of Nimrod, who became a mighty warrior on the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. That is why it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord. The first centers of his kingdom were Babylon, Uruk, Akkad, and Calneh, and Shinar. From that land he went to Assyria, where he built Nineveh, Rehoboth, Calah, Rezin, which is between Nineveh and Calah, which is the great city. Good morning, Mama. Egypt was the father of the Ludites, the Anamites, the Lehabites, the Naphtahites. Look, we're getting into the part where
oh, you ain't got there yet.
And the Causahites, from whom the Philistines came, and then the Caphtorites. Canaan was the father of Sidon, his firstborn, and of the Hittites, the Jebusites, the Amorites, the Girgashites, the Hivites, the Archites, the Sinites, the Arvadites, the Zemarites, and the Hamathites. Good morning, Val.
Good morning, Val.
Later, the Canaanite clans scattered, and the borders of Canaan reached from Sidon toward Gerar as far as Gaza, and then toward Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, as far as Lasha. These are the sons of Ham by their clans and languages and their territories and nations.
So from Canaan came the land of
Sodom and Gomorrah and all of the unclean lands. Now we're into the Semites. Sons were also born to Shem, whose older brother was Japheth. Shem was the ancestor of all the sons of Eber. The sons of Shem were Elam, Asher, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram. The sons of Aram were Uz, Hul, Gether, and Meshach. Arphaxad was the father of Shelah, and Shelah was the father of Eber. Two sons were born to Eber. One's name was Peleg, because in his time the earth was divided. His brother's name was Joktan.
So even before the Tower of Babel, they separated and had some of their different languages.
And actually, the next chapter is the Tower of Babel. Verse 26 says, Joktan was the father of Almadad, Sheleth, Hazarmaveth, Jerah, Hadaram, Uzal, Dikla, Obal, Abimael, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab. All these were sons of Joktan. The region where they lived stretched from Mesha toward Sephar in the eastern hill country. These are the sons of Shem by their clans and languages and their territories and nations. These are the clans of Noah's sons, according to their lines of descent within their nations, from these nations spread out over the earth after the flood. Now we're getting into the Tower of Babel, which is quite possibly...
Val said it sounds like a Star Wars language.
It does. Good morning, Alma. In chapter 11, the Tower of Babel, that's got to be the most famous story in the Bible about hubris.
What's hubris?
Hi, Kennedy.
Hello,
Hubris
Kennedy.
is man's arrogance.
Welcome, Kennedy. You said hubris is what? Man's what?
Arrogance. So, chapter 11, and at this time, The whole world had one language and one common speech. As people moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar and settled there. They said to each other, "Come, let's make bricks and bake them thoroughly." They used brick instead of stone and tar for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth." I see you, cat.
Oh, shoot, I've been petting.
But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower that the people were building. The Lord said, "If as one people speaking the same language they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language so they will not understand each other." So notice here it says, "Come, let us go down and confuse their language so they will not understand each other."
What does it say down there about that script? Does it?
The plural noun may reflect the divine court, where decisions are made that overturn the deliberations of any human court, or it may suggest God's self-reflection as a deity, far more complex in personhood than other gods.
Still gives you.
Oh, this is interesting. When it talks about confusing their language. Well, we are very glad that you stopped by, Kennedy. Confusing is a wordplay on brick. This does not permanently remove the danger of the city, but it mitigates the threat of a one world government where no alternative worship is allowed. And you guys,
I wish John was in here just now.
For those of you who may be new here or just tuning in, you know that something that I've been following is the Pope working with the Grand Imam toward a one world religion. So we are seeing here where the Tower of Babel, you know, God struck it down because he didn't want that kind of unity per se to put themselves on par with himself.
Well, because if you think of this way, if you have one world government or one world religion, then you're telling everybody you have to worship this way. You have to worship this person. And if that, you know, the thing of it is we have freedom. God gives us freedom as to serve him or not to serve him. And it's, you know, everybody has a right to, you know, they have a right to serve who they want to serve. But if it's a one world thing, that means somebody's standing up there telling me who I can or cannot worship.
Yeah. So the Lord scattered them from there over all the earth, and they stopped building the city. That is why it is called Babel, because the Lord confused the language of the whole world. From there, the Lord scattered them over the face of the whole earth. Oh, and that's actually Babylon. So that's where Babylon started. Interesting. So from...
Yeah, and Saddam Hussein was trying to rebuild the tower, because that is where Saddam Hussein, he was wanting to rebuild in that imagery.
So now we're in Shem to Abram. This is the account of Shem's family line. It's not far off. Darlene said, "It's not far off, Casey. My minister went to Israel last month, and he learned while he was over there that the third temple can be built in 72 hours. I've been following that too, Darlene, where they're talking about building the temple or rebuilding the temple. There's one part in the Bible where it says that coyotes will roam in the ruins, and then it will be rebuilt. Well, in that spot of the ruins, there was a group of coyotes. So this is the account of Shem's family line. 2 years after the flood, when Shem was 100 years old, he became the father of Arphaxad. And after he became the father of Arphaxad, Shem lived 500 years and had other sons and daughters. When Arphaxad had lived 35 years, he became the father of Shelah. And after he became the father of Shelah, Arphaxad lived 403 years and had other sons and daughters. When Shelah had lived 30 years, he became the father of Eber. And after he became the father of Eber, Shelah lived 403 years and had other sons and daughters. Eber lived 34 years and became the father of Peleg. And after he became the father of Peleg, Eber lived 430 years and had other sons and daughters. When Peleg had lived 30 years, he became the father of Ru. And after he became the father of Ru, Peleg lived 209 years and had other sons and daughters. And we are continually decreasing in years. When Ru lived for 32 years, he became the father of Serug. And after he became the father of Serug, Ru lived 207 years and had other sons and daughters. Serug lived 30 years, became the father of Nahor. After he became the father of Nahor, he lived 200 years and had other sons and daughters. Nahor had lived 29 years. He became the father of Terah. And after he became the father of Terah, Nahor lived 119 years and had other sons and daughters. After Terah had lived 70 years, he became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Now we're into Abram's family. This is the account of Terah's family line. Good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning, Jennifer.
Terah became the father of Abram, which I do believe is Abraham. Yeah, it is. Okay. Terah became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran became the father of Lot. While his father Terah was still alive, Haran died in Ur of the Chaldeans, in the land of his birth. Abram and Nahor both married. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, which later goes to Sarah. The name of Nahor's wife was Milcah. She was the daughter of Haran, the father of both Milcah and Iscah. Now Sarai was childless because she was not able to conceive. Terah took his son Abram, his grandson Lot, son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, the wife of his son Abram, and together they set out from Ur of the Chaldeans to go to Canaan. But when they came to Haran, they settled there. Terah lived 205 years, and he died in Haran. And that brings us to chapter 12, the call of Abraham. So the Lord said to Abram, "Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I'll show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And all peoples on earth will be blessed through you." So Abram went as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he set out from Haran. He took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, and all the possessions they had accumulated, and the people they had acquired in Haran, and they set out for the land of Canaan, and they arrived there. Abram traveled through the land as far as the site of the great tree of Morah at Shechem. At that time, the Canaanites were in the land. The Lord appeared to Abram and said, "To your offspring I will give this land." So he built an altar there to the Lord who had appeared to him. From there he went on toward the hills east of Bethel and pitched his tent, with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. There he built an altar to the Lord and called on the name of the Lord. Then Abram set out and continued toward the Negev. Now Abram is traveling to Egypt. Now there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down to Egypt to live there for a while because the famine was severe. As he was about to enter Egypt, he said to his wife Sarai, "I know what a beautiful woman you are. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, 'This is his wife.' Then they will kill me, but let you live. Say you are my sister." so that I will be treated well for your sake, and my life will be spared because of you." When Abram came to Egypt, the Egyptians saw that Sarai was a very beautiful woman. And Pharaoh's officials saw her. They praised her to Pharaoh, and she was taken into his palace. He treated Abram well for her sake, and Abram acquired sheep and cattle, male and female donkeys, male and female servants, and camels. But the Lord inflicted serious diseases on Pharaoh and his household because of Abram's wife Sarai. So Pharaoh summoned Abram. "What have you done to me?" he said. "Why didn't you tell me she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister, so that I took her to be my wife? Now then, here is your wife, take her and go." Then the Pharaoh gave orders about Abram to his men, and they sent him on his way with his wife and everything he had.
It's kind of weird. What was does it even give any kind of commentary about why he would do that? I mean, I wonder if he did it in a selfish way, or he did just want to be able to live.
Not sure.
Good morning again, Eva.
Good morning, Eva. Here it does say that rather than trusting in God's protection, Abraham selfishly devises a cunning ruse. That brings us to chapter 13.
Eva's like me, Casey. She gets up early and she's on late. I caught you on late last night, didn't I, Eva? If you pull out my connection.
So in chapter 13, Abraham and Lot separate. So Abram went up from Egypt to the Negev with his wife and everything he had, and Lot went with him. Abram had become very wealthy in livestock and in silver and gold. From the Negev, he went from place to place until he came to Bethel, to the place between Bethel and Ai, where his tent had been earlier, and where he had first built an altar. There Abram called on the name of the Lord. Now Lot, who was moving about with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents, but the land could not support them while they stayed together, for their possessions were so great they were not able to stay together. Quarreling arose between Abram's herders and Lot's. The Canaanites and the Perizzites were also living in the land at that time. So Abram said to Lot, "Let's not have any quarreling between you and me, or between your herders and mine, for we are close relatives. Is not the whole land before you? Let's part company. If you go to the left, I'll go to the right. If you go to the right, I'll go to the left." Lot looked around and saw that the whole plain of the Jordan toward Zoar was well watered, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. So Lot chose for himself the whole plain of the Jordan and set out toward the east. The two men parted company. Abram lived in the land of Canaan, while Lot lived among the cities of the plain and pitched his tents near Sodom. Now the people of Sodom were wicked and were sinning greatly against the Lord. The Lord said to Abram after Lot had parted from him, "Look around from where you are to the north and south, to the east and west. All the land that you see I will give to you and your offspring forever. I will make your offspring like the dust of the earth, so that if anyone could count the dust, then your offspring could be counted. Go walk through the length and breadth of the land, for I am giving it to you." So Abram went to live near the great trees of Mamre at Hebron, where he pitched his tent. There he built an altar to the Lord. Now, Sodom and Gomorrah is, of course, linked to Canaan, Noah's grandson, whom Noah cursed. The brief remark about their destruction anticipates the fuller description in chapter 19. The original location of these cities is unknown, although they were probably situated near the southern end of the Dead Sea. Now we are in chapter 14.
And if you guys at any time have any questions or anything.
Feel free to ask or
Yeah.
to open up conversation.
Yeah.
Chapter 14, Abram rescues Lot. So at the time when Amraphel was king of Shinar, Arioch king of Elasar, Kedorlaomer king of Elam, and Tidal king of Goyim, these kings went to war against Bera king of Sodom, Bersha king of Gomorrah, Shinab king of Admah, Shemeber king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zoar. All these latter kings joined forces in the valley of Siddim, that is the Dead Sea Valley. For 12 years they had been subject to Kedorlaomer, but in the 13th year they rebelled. In the 14th year, Kedorlaomer and the kings allied with him went out and defeated the Rephites in Ashtaroth Karnaim, the Zuzites in Ham, the Emites in Shava Kirithaim, and the Horites in the hill country of Seir, as far as El Paran near the desert. Then they turned back and went to En Mishpat, that is Kadesh, and they conquered the whole territory of the Amalekites, as well as the Amorites who were living in Hazezon Tamar. Then the king of Sodom, the king of Gomorrah, the king of Admah, the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zoar, marched out and drew up their battle lines in the valley of Siddim against Kedorlaomer, king of Elam, Tidal, king of Goyim, Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Elasar, 4 kings against 5. Now the valley of Siddim was full of tar pits, and when the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, some of the men fell into them, and the rest fled to the hills. The 4 kings seized all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their food, and they went away. They also carried off Abram's nephew Lot and his possessions, since he was living in Sodom. A man who had escaped came and reported to Abram the Hebrew. Now Abram was living near the great trees of Mamre the Amorite, a brother of Eshcol and Aner, all of whom were allied, who were allied with Abram. When Abram heard that his relative had been taken captive, he called out of the 318 men born in his household and went in pursuit as far as Dan. During the night, Abram divided his men to attack them, and he routed them, pursuing them as far as Hobah, north of Damascus. He recovered all the goods and brought back his relative Lot and his possessions, together with the women and the other people. After Abram returned from defeating Kedorlaomer, and the kings allied with him, the king of Sodom, came out to meet him in the valley of Shava, that is the king's valley. Then Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was priest of God Most High, and he blessed Abram, saying, blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, and praise be to God Most High, who delivered your enemies into your hands. Abram gave him 1/10 of everything. The king of Sodom said to Abram, give me the people and keep the goods for yourself. But Abram said to the king of Sodom, with raised hand I have sworn an oath to the Lord God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, that I will accept nothing belonging to you, not even a thread or the strap of a sandal, so that you will never be able to say, I made Abram rich. I will accept nothing but what my men have eaten, and the share that belongs to the men who went with me, to Ener, Eshcol, and Mamre. Let them have their share. That brings us to the Lord's covenant with Abram.
I like that he didn't take anything, so the king couldn't boast that he made Abram rich.
Yeah. So after this, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. Do not be afraid, Abram, I am your shield, your very great reward. But Abram said, Sovereign Lord, what can you give me since I remain childless? And the one who will inherit my estate is Eliezer of Damascus. And Abram said, "You have given me no children, so a servant in my household will be my heir." The word of the Lord came to him, "This man will not be your heir, but a son who is your own flesh and blood will be your heir." He took him outside and said, "Look up at the sky and count the stars. If indeed you can count them." Then he said to him, "So shall your offspring be." Abram believed the Lord, and he credited it to him as righteousness. He also said to him, "I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land to take possession of it." But Abram said, "Sovereign Lord, how can I know that I will gain possession of it?" So the Lord said to him, "Bring me a heifer, a goat, and a ram, each 3 years old, along with a dove and a young pigeon." Abram brought all of these to him, cut them in two, and arranged the halves opposite each other. The birds, however, he did not cut in half. Then birds of prey came down on the carcasses, but Abram drove them away. As the sun was setting, Abram fell into a deep sleep, and a thick and dreadful darkness came over him. The Lord said to him, "Know for certain that for 400 years your descendants will be strangers in a country not their own, and they will be enslaved and mistreated there. But I will punish the nation they serve as slaves, and afterward they will come out with great possessions. You, however, will go to your ancestors in peace and be buried at a good old age. In the fourth generation your descendants will come back here, for the sin of the Amorites has not yet reached its full measure." When the sun has set and darkness had fallen, a smoky fire pot with a blazing torch appeared and passed between the pieces. On that day, the Lord made a covenant with Abram and said, "To your descendants I give this land, from the Wadi of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates, the land of the Kenites, the Kenizzites, the Cadmonites, the Hittites, Perizzites, Rephaites, Amorites, Canaanites, Girgashites, and Jebusites." And here it refers to the vision of the fire pot with a blazing torch. It says, "After sunset, this passes between the pieces. Since God's presence is frequently linked directly to fire, it may be assumed that he is the one who passed between the divided animals." And as we know, especially in the wilderness, God appears as this big thing of fire and then a cloud. We're going to stop there today. There will be no Bible study tomorrow or Sunday, of course. We will pick up Monday. We'll pick up Monday with chapter 16 at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We are going to close out with prayer. What do we have as far as prayer requests? Denise says, remember her and her husband.
And Tracy.
Remember Tracy for her pain. Candace, unspoken.
Liz Ann's granddaughter.
Yes. Robbie and his family. Melissa's sisters. Mary's friend who's having surgery. Gianna, unspoken. Myra, Anthony.
Anthony's wife will always remember both Anthony and Ashley.
Ashley.
John for his health issues too.
Peggy for her health.
Remember Destiny. She was having.
Oh my gosh.
No.
We definitely will, Eva.
And I have an unspoken.
Any other prayer requests or any praise reports?
Feeling very sleepy today. I don't know why.
I don't know. You know what? I've got a praise report. Thank God that we only have today and tomorrow left of this heat, and then it's going to drop about 15 degrees. And I am over the moon about that because I don't like to sweat. I am tired of having swamp thighs. All right, everybody. If there are no other prayer requests, then we will go ahead and close out with prayer. So bow your head and close your eyes, or do whatever you do, however you pray. There is no wrong way to pray. And we'll close out.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this wonderful Friday that you have given us. Lord, thank you for your many blessings that you have given us as well. Lord, thank you for your increase of family that we feel like that our family is growing, family of people, Lord. I pray for each person that is listening that has any disability, Lord. I pray over physical right now. I pray over mental, and I pray over spiritual disabilities, Lord. There's so many that are suffering, and we come together and we try to uplift one another as you have us to do. And Lord, right now, I just pray for some healing. I pray for the children that have lost their mother. Lord, I pray for their father that will be there for them. And Lord, I pray that you touch them in a mighty way and help those children to adjust. Lord, I pray over Casey, and I pray over what you are calling him to do. I pray for him to have strength and boldness. And Lord, I also pray over so many people that we have met and that's out there, and different views and different outlooks. And Lord, I pray that somehow all of it ties back to you, because you are the reason. You are the reason that we are here and that we do what we do. Lord, I pray over myself, unspoken, that you will touch my heart and help my heart to take the blows that I sometimes get. Lord, I pray over people that step out in your name, over social media. I pray, Lord, that the attacks can be turned away from them. Pray over Anthony and his wife. I pray over his ministry, Lord. And I pray over John's ministry as well as his business and his family. Both of these men, Lord, at this day and age are out there doing ministry along with their work on social media. And Lord, so much negativity can come back on anybody. So Lord, I just pray for some healing, and I pray for us to have a good weekend. I pray for my husband's health. And Lord, I pray for Tracy's husband and anybody else, Lord, that is out there working so hard and they're so tired in body. Lord, again, I pray for this weekend. I pray for my husband to be able to rest. Thank you, Lord, for your many, many blessings. Amen.
Amen. All right, you guys. We are going to let you all go. Thank you for joining us this morning, for being here. I pray that you are blessed today. I pray that you are a blessing to others, and I pray that you allow yourself to be blessed. We love you, and we will see you Monday morning, whether you join Mom's show at 8:30 Eastern time in the morning, or if you come to church at 11 a.m. Either way, we will see you. We love you, and we hope you all have a great weekend. Bye, everybody.
Bye.